The story begins as a girl named Sophia is told to step up and choose a card, which will determine the animal god whose blessing she'll receive. She starts to think about all the animals and the powers they grant, but she doesn't know which one best fits her, so she just hopes to get an animal that won't make her stand out. But when she picks her card, she's surprised to see that she drew the gorilla god. After that, a girl named Clarissa asks her which blessing she received, but everyone notes that no matter what it was, she will never be as good as Clarissa. She starts pressuring Sophia to reveal the card she picked, but everyone's distracted when a student mentions that a boy named Louis Scarrell has arrived. We learn that the school teaches the students about leadership, but the boys are more interested in making connections for their future, while the girls try to find a high-ranking student to marry. Sophia knows that even though there's no written rule, there's a hierarchy depending on their family's social status. She wants to leave the school as soon as possible, but still has 2 years before she graduates. She decides to have lunch, but she accidentally crushes her apple, as we see she's been struggling to control her strength after receiving the gorilla god's blessing. She remembers how the headmaster told her she picked a rare blessing, revealing that the gorilla god is one of the most powerful combat class blessings, and he told her to meet with him, because he needed to discuss something with her. She suddenly sees a squirrel, so she gives it her lunch and goes back to class. After school, she meets with the headmaster, who tells her she's been recruited by the Royal Knights. He gives her a letter and notes that she needs to take an exam, telling her she'll become a junior knight if she passes. But she doesn't understand why she's been chosen, so he explains that it's because she got the gorilla god's blessing. She can't believe what's happening, but she knows that if she rejects the Royal Knights, her parents will be criticized, and she might even be thrown out of the country. So she accepts the offer, but asks the headmaster to keep her blessing a secret from the others. He agrees to do it, and notes that he won't tell anyone she was scouted, because the anti-monarchy faction might react violently. Sophia goes to check on the squirrel she fed, and she can't find it, but she realizes that the food is gone. She still can't believe the Royal Knights recruited her, and she knows that she won't be able to live a normal life if she joins them, so she thinks about failing the test. On the day of the junior knight exam, Sophia comes across an old man whose carriage has lost a wheel, so she thinks about helping him, but she knows that everyone might start talking about her strength, which will make her stand out. She decides to help him anyway, and he thinks she won't be able to carry everything, but he's shocked as she easily picks up the barrels. She gets lost after she drops him off, but Louis appears beside her, and she blushes at the sight of him. He asks her if something's wrong, and she tells him she's lost, revealing that she's trying to reach the Royal Knights training ground, so he gives her directions. As she's about to go, he stops her and helps her wipe her face, which makes her blush again. After he leaves, she goes to the training grounds, but she feels awkward since she's the only girl there. Louis also arrives, but he turns out to be the exams administrator, and he notes that their first task is to run 100 meters. A boy named Isaac volunteers to go first because he's confident in his speed, so Louis tells him to step up. As he gives the signal, Isaac runs towards the finish line and reaches the goal in 9.9 seconds, which amazes everyone. Sophia thinks that if someone so skilled is also taking the test, there's no way she'll pass. But when it's her turn to run, she moves so fast that she breaks through the wall behind the finish line. After that, Louis notes that their next test is to descend from the tower using a rope, but everyone's already tired, because they all had to climb up to reach the top. They all get scared seeing how high the tower is, so no one wants to go first. But a boy named Edward jumps out the window, and as he's about to reach the ground, he lets go of the rope and lands safely. Sophia sees Isaac hiding in a corner, and he admits that he's afraid of heights. She offers to go first, and promises to catch him if something happens to him, which makes him feel pathetic that a girl is worried about him. He decides to go with her, but as they start going down, his rope suddenly breaks. She manages to catch him before he hits the ground, but her rope breaks as well, so she carries him and lands on her feet. Everyone thinks she's impressive, but Louis reminds them the exam isn't finished yet, so they need to move on to the next test. He tells Sophia to come with him to the infirmary, and he treats the wounds on her hands, but he's surprised that the cuts aren't deep, considering the weight she was carrying. So he notes that she must be extremely strong, but she's still amazed by how handsome he is. He starts laughing seeing how nervous she is, and she thanks him for helping her, but she becomes confused when he holds her hand. She asks him what he's doing, which startles him, and he apologizes for his actions. He's surprised by how she managed to carry Isaac with her hands, because after the agility test, he thought her strength was in her legs. He wonders why she's taking the test, but she can't tell him about the gorilla god's blessing, and he realizes she's uncomfortable, so he apologizes for asking such a personal question. After that, Lewis takes her to the next exam, where she sees everyone fighting with swords. A blade almost hits her, and she's glad she didn't take the test, because she would have died. She becomes happy when she thinks about how she might have already failed the exam, since she was in the infirmary and didn't participate in the test. But she's also sad that she won't be able to see Lewis anymore, and she tells herself it doesn't matter, because they both live in completely different worlds. After the exam, Isaac comes running towards Sophia, and he's glad to see that she isn't hurt. Lewis tells him to properly thank her for saving his life, and he praises Isaac's legs, hoping they can work together in the future. As they leave, Sophia asks Isaac if he's known Lewis for a while, and he reveals that when Lewis was 15, he became a knight before he even received his blessing. He's the heir of a prestigious family, and he's also an amazing swordsman, but he was never cocky, which is why Isaac looks up to him. Sophia had no idea how amazing Lewis is, and she wishes that she also had a goal like Isaac, so she thinks it would have been better if he had gotten the gorilla god's blessing. They see a group of men insulting Edward, because he's the son of a mistress, so they decide to help him. Isaac tells the bullies to go home if they're done with the exam, but they mention that they have business with Edward. Sophia mentions that she also has business with him, telling them she promised to walk home with him, but they just laugh at her, and they agree to leave if she can beat them. One of them grabs her, but she sends him flying, telling them to talk things out, but they run away because they're scared of her. Isaac is amazed by how strong she is, and he wonders if she's a shinobi, but she has no idea what he's talking about. Edward realizes she received the gorilla god's blessing, since she was able to carry Isaac like he weighed nothing. He adds that she ran strangely, but she was able to beat Isaac, who is the fastest person in the country. She can't believe he figured out her secret, and she sees him getting angry that he didn't get the blessing, but she doesn't understand why someone would wish for it. He realizes that she doesn't understand how amazing the gorilla god's blessing is, and Isaac is also clueless. So he tells them how a gorilla can run up to 40 kilometers an hour, has 7 times the arm strength of a human, and could easily defeat 100 men by itself. He mentions that it's one of the 2 ultimate combat class blessings in the world, so he's annoyed at how timid Sophia is acting, because she should be bragging about her strength. He thanks her for saving him, while Isaac notes that they should introduce themselves again. He tells them he has the dog god's blessing, but Edward refuses to reveal his own blessing, because others might find his weakness, telling Isaac he shouldn't tell everyone about it. Sophia asks them to keep her blessing a secret, and Edward notes that he has no reason to tell anyone who doesn't notice it themselves. They realize that they're all the same age, so Isaac wishes for all 3 of them to pass the exam, but Sophia is sad, because she knows she won't be able to see them again. The next day, the headmaster tells Sophia she passed the exam, which confuses her, since she didn't even participate in one of the tests. He doesn't know how she passed, but he thinks she must have done something impressive. He tells her that since she's a student, her junior night training will take place after school, so she realizes she'll have double the work. Sophia is shocked to see that Isaac and Edward have transferred to her class, and as Isaac starts talking to her in front of everyone, she realizes that her school life will no longer be peaceful. After that, Sophia asks them not to tell everyone she's a junior knight, and Isaac doesn't understand why she's keeping it a secret. She knows she can't tell everyone that she's training with them, because they're both extremely popular with the girls, so she just begs them not to tell anyone. They agree to her request, which makes her relieved. They see all the girls gathering, and Sophia realizes it's because of Lewis. He's surprised to see that Sophia and the others go to the same school, and he tells them he's allowed to prioritize being a knight, so he doesn't attend the school as much. He prepares to congratulate them on passing the exam, but Sophia quickly covers his mouth and pushes him into a wall. He asks her if something's wrong, so she apologizes for being rude, but he doesn't mind. He tells them they can ask him anything about the school, but she's more worried about how all the girls are staring at her. During their lunch, Clarissa asks Sophia how she knows Lewis, but she explains that she just met him once. Clarissa refuses to believe her, and she wonders if Sophia also knows Isaac and Edward, but she's worried that the lunch break will be over before she gets to eat anything. So she tells them Louis is in the courtyard, and she runs away while they're distracted. She goes to the cafeteria, and she's about to have lunch, but Isaac and Edward decide to sit with her, which makes things awkward, because everyone's looking at her. Edward is annoyed because every time there's a break, people keep asking him where he's from, and Isaac notes that it's rare for them to see someone from outside the capital. All the girls start screaming as Louis arrives, but they become jealous when he also sits with Sophia. He tells them the induction ceremony will be held tomorrow, revealing that the Knights squad captain will give a speech, and they'll get to meet the other Knights. Sophia quickly eats her food and leaves, so that everyone will stop staring at her, but Louis catches up to her and gives her a muffin, because he thought she didn't eat enough. But all the girls see them, and Clarissa tells her to explain her relationship with him. The next day, Sophia heads to the Knights training grounds, where Isaac and Edward wonder if something's wrong with her, because she looks nervous. She's still thinking about how all the girls came to her dorm to ask about Louis, so she told them they used to play together because their families know each other. Clarissa thinks that must be true, because he wouldn't waste his time with someone as unrefined as her. She thinks Clarissa is right about her, because no matter how long she stays by his side, no one will believe they're together. The Royal Knights Grandmaster Ernest Cheval congratulates everyone for passing the test, and he tells them they need to be ready to risk their lives for the kingdom. Sophia sees that everyone feels pride in being a knight, so no one will believe someone like her also managed to pass the exam. Ernest tells her to do something about her bangs, because they'll get in the way during battle, and she can't believe she already received a warning from him. At night, she tries to cut off her bangs, but she messes up completely, and she knows Isaac and Edward will worry about her if they see her hair. She tries to fix it, but she accidentally breaks the scissors since she can't control her strength. The next day, she goes to the royal capital to find a hairdresser, but she runs into Louis, who notes that he can help her find what she's looking for, because he's always patrolling the area. She mentions that she's looking for a hairdresser, so he takes her to a shop, where she's shocked to see that the stylist is bald. He tells her to remove her scarf, and he can't believe how messed up her hair is. He notes that he needs to cut her bangs like he's skinning a beast, which scares her, but Louis reveals that he used to be a member of the Royal Knights. So even though he looks scary, he's actually a nice guy. He asks her what she needs him to do with her hair, and she just tells him to make it shorter. But he knows that the school is about to have a big party, so he mentions that he'll only cut off her bangs and keep the length as it is. She falls asleep as he starts cutting her hair, and after she wakes up, she can't believe how good it looks. He tells her she has a pretty face, so she needs to take care of herself, telling her he just put in a little effort and made her completely unrecognizable. Louis returns to the shop to pick her up, and she asks the hairdresser how much she owes him, but he tells her Louis has already taken care of it. He notes that he should have warned her earlier about her bangs, so it's his way of making up for it. As they walk through the town, Louis is distracted by the bakery shop she saw earlier, so she asks him if he wants to try it, which makes him embarrassed. He mentions that he loves sweets, but bakery shops usually have more female customers, so when he goes in alone, he sticks out like a sore thumb. She thinks about joining him, since she wants to repay him for the haircut, but she's afraid that someone from their school will see them. Louis mentions that he would love to try the cake, but he notes that he can't go in alone, so she decides to go with him. Everyone in the shop starts looking at them, which makes Sophia nervous, but she understands why they're staring at Louis. He gives his order, and she's surprised by how much he's ordering, so he explains that he wants to try everything, since he doesn't always go there. After their order arrives, Sophia realizes that people are looking at him with a different energy, but she's just glad that he's happy. She wonders why he doesn't go there with other people, because she thinks he won't have a problem finding someone to accompany him, but he mentions that he doesn't have a girl in his life. She's surprised because he's always crowded by girls in the school, and he thinks they're just curious, because he rarely goes to school, so she realizes that he has no idea how popular he is. He reveals that he also doesn't have a fiancée, and notes that he can't even think about marriage until he has achieved his goal. He asks her if she received the gorilla god's blessing, and he mentions that she doesn't need to answer it, but she confirms his suspicions. She thinks he'll start to hate her, but he believes she was chosen because she always puts other people above herself. He assures her he won't hate her just because of her blessing, but he's worried that she'll face difficulties since she's a girl, so he tells her she can rely on him. As they leave, she tells herself that she shouldn't get the wrong idea, because he's only helping her since she's his junior. After Sophia goes to her dorm, Clarissa and the other girls try to question her, but she runs away. She goes to train with Isaac, who's sad that she left him behind, so she tells him how the other girls were chasing her. He sees that Edward is exhausted, so he notes that he doesn't have an overpowered blessing like they do. After that, they go to train with muskets, and Sophia and Isaac are worried that it might go off accidentally, but Edward tells them it isn't loaded yet. One of the night squad commanders named Ark arrives, and he's excited to see what everyone's got. They start their training, and Isaac can't hit a target, but Edward is able to hit the bullseye, which impresses Ark, and he realizes that Edward is from the Feelies family, which has already produced plenty of good snipers. Sophia picks up the gun, but as she tries to shoot, she holds the gun too hard and breaks it in half, so Ark laughs at her and calls her a gorilla. Ark notes that a few of them will join him after becoming a knight, but as he's about to fly away, he hits all the targets, and hopes all of them will be able to do that as well. After that, Isaac praises Edward for his performance, but he reveals that it's the only reason he was scouted. Isaac mentions how he's excited to see Sophia in a dress for the school party, but she doesn't have anything to wear, and she isn't interested in going to the party. Meanwhile, Ark tells Ernest about how he's interested in Sophia, and a knight's commander named Shin notes that she isn't fit to be a musketeer, but Ark refuses to let her go. On the day of the school party, Sophia is shocked to see that her parents have sent her a new dress, even though she asked for a simple one that they already have at home. She decides to put it away, because she knows she won't be able to avoid attention if she wears it. She goes to the party wearing a simple dress, where she runs into Clarissa, who thinks she has seen the dress before. Sophia thinks about how she wore it in middle school as well, and Clarissa asks her who's accompanying her, since she can't attend the party without a partner. She can't believe Sophia wore such a dress, and she decides to leave, because she can't bear the humiliation. But she runs into Lewis, and she starts crying, so he asks her if everything's alright, but she just tells him there's something in her eyes. He's about to take her to the infirmary, but she tells him that she didn't know she had to come to the party with a partner. So he decides to go with her, and everyone's shocked to see them together, but Sophia asks him what will happen to his real partner. He reveals that he came there alone, which shocks her, because she thinks he must have been asked by a lot of girls. So he notes that they just asked him if he was going to the party, but no one said they wanted to come with him. Clarissa and the other girls get angry at Sophia, so they interrupt her, and Clarissa apologizes for the misunderstanding earlier. One of the girls offers a drink to Sophia, and she tries to cause a scene, but she catches it before it hits the ground, and they decide to retreat. Lewis tells Sophia that they received a letter from an organization, which mentions that there's a bomb in the school. He thinks it might be a prank, but they still need to be alert, and he reveals that the Knights told the school to cancel the party, but they refused, so he's investigating it with the help of Isaac and Edward. He asks Sophia to help them, and she agrees to do it, so he tells her to grab his arm to make sure no one suspects them. As they walk through the party, Clarissa starts losing her mind seeing them together, so she interrupts them again. She distracts Lewis, while another girl tries to cut Sophia's dress. She thinks about pushing her back, but she hesitates because she knows that she might break her arm. Lewis stops the girl and gets angry at her, but Sophia assures him she's fine. He sees that her sleeve has been cut, so he asks her if she's okay, but she accidentally steps on her dress, and she trips over, but he catches her and carries her out of the party. He thinks he has failed as a knight since he couldn't protect her, but she reminds him that she's a knight as well. She tells him to put her down, and he notes that they should buy a new dress for her, but she mentions that she already has one in her room. Sophia returns home and takes out the dress her parents sent her, but she can't believe she's about to wear it. She thinks about running away, but she remembers how Lewis got angry for her sake, so she doesn't want to make him worry. She puts on the dress, and as she rushes towards the party, she runs into Clarissa's partner Leon. She wonders why he isn't with Clarissa, so he mentions that she left him behind because she's having more fun with her friends. He gets close to Sophia and touches her face, telling her that even though she's already pretty, he can make her even more beautiful. She slaps his hand and tries to get away, but he stops her, telling her to stay with him since he's alone. But Isaac and Edward come looking for her, so he decides to leave. They tell her about the bomb threat, and she notes that Lewis has already filled her in, but they reveal that they still haven't found anything, so they think the threat was a prank. They decide to join the party, but they need to report to Lewis first, so Sophia reveals that he's waiting at the entrance. As she prepares to go, Edward stops and takes her with him because he can't let her go to the party in such a condition. After he helps her put on makeup, they go to the party, and everyone's amazed by how beautiful she looks. She becomes embarrassed seeing everyone stare at her, and she knows that she's standing out even more because Isaac and Edward are with her. She asks them how they were able to get in without a partner, but they reveal that there was no such rule, so she realizes that Clarissa lied to her. She apologizes to Lewis, but he doesn't mind since he's enjoying himself, and Isaac asks her to be his partner next year. Clarissa gets even angrier seeing everyone with Sophia, but her friends think they should just retreat. Sophia sees a girl named Renee sitting in a corner, and she asks her if something's wrong, so she mentions she lost her earring. She knows where she dropped it, but she's afraid to go there alone, so Sophia decides to join her. They go to the old school building, and Sophia wonders what Renee was doing there, so she mentions a teacher asked her to help with restocking. Sophia sees the earring, but Renee suddenly locks her up in a box, revealing that she was told to make sure Sophia leaves the party. She realizes that Clarissa is behind it, and Renee couldn't say no to her because her family is lower class. She thinks about how she can easily break free, but she decides to stay put, because Clarissa will yell at Renee if she escapes, and she's shocked when the school staff suddenly picks up the box. They take the box to the third floor, and as they put it down, they're surprised by how heavy it is. After they leave, Sophia breaks the box, but she decides to stay away from the party, and she thinks that if she isn't with Lewis, more people will be able to talk to him. She suddenly hears something in the room, which scares her, but she realizes it's just a squirrel. Meanwhile, Isaac and Edward look for Sophia, and Edward notes that he'll scold her once he finds her. Sophia wonders what a squirrel is doing there, and she realizes it's the one she fed a few days ago. She's glad that she has someone with her, because she was starting to get scared, and she notes that since the threat turned out to be a prank, there's no need for her to return to the party. She mentions that she wants to leave, so that she can be with Lewis, and she recalls how everyone worked hard to make her look beautiful, so she wishes he would look at her. She knows that if she isn't with him, the other girls might talk to him, and she doesn't want him to talk to anyone else. She thinks he's only looking out for her since she's his junior, and he selected her as his partner because the situation demanded it. So she can't understand why she's thinking about things that will never happen, and the fireworks start lighting up the sky. She wonders if he's also watching them, and thinks that if she had more courage, she could have been standing next to him. She thinks about how her heart pounds whenever she's with him, and she finds it hard to breathe. But he makes her happy, which makes her wonder if it's how someone feels when they like a person. She suddenly hears another noise, so she goes to check it out, because she's still thinking about the bomb threat. She wonders if the noise came from the window being opened by the wind, but she still has a feeling that something's wrong. She comes across two boys, who are talking about how the party is too nice for students, but they're annoyed because it's only for nobles. She wonders if they're the ones who sent the letter, and she decides to retreat, so that she can call Lewis and the others to take care of them. But as she steps back, they hear her footstep, so one of them pulls out a knife, telling her to surrender without making a noise. She tries to grab a metal pipe to fight them, but she ends up crushing it instead. The boy rushes at her with his knife, but she hits him with a mannequin and knocks him out. The other boy prepares to attack, but she easily disarms him and asks him if he also wants to get knocked out. She ties them up, and she knows that she should report everything to Lewis, but she can't let them out of her sight. She asks them who they are, wondering if they were the ones who sent the threat, but they refuse to answer. But the squirrel gets her to follow it, and it leads her to the bomb. She asks the boy how to disarm it, but he refuses to tell her anything, wondering why he should help her. So she notes that they'll also die if the bomb goes off, but he tells her they're ready to die for their ideals. She wonders who they are, but she knows that she doesn't have the time to worry about them, because she needs to take care of the bomb. She sees that the explosives are different from what she studied, and she thinks the bomb will be defused if she can stop the clock hands, but there's a chance that it could go off. The boy tells her it's too late to stop it, but she tells herself there's no time to be indecisive, because everyone will get hurt if she doesn't do anything. She picks up the bomb, but she knows that walking down the stairs will take too much time, so she jumps out the window. She starts running to find a place where there are no people, and she manages to get away from everyone before the bomb explodes. She holds it close to her body, thinking she might be able to hold the blast with her gorilla strength, but she's shocked as the squirrel suddenly appears behind her. It tries to stop the clock hands, which scares her, but she sees the fireworks go off and comes up with an idea. She kicks the bomb into the sky, hoping it goes off just in time, and it explodes in the air. After that, Isaac and Edward manage to find her, but she starts crying when she sees them. They carry her back to the school and ask her what happened, so she explains that she followed two suspicious people and realized they had set up the bomb. They ask her what happened to them, so she mentions that they're still tied up in the room. Louis arrives, and Isaac tells him everything that happened, but Sophia is so embarrassed that she can't even look at him. She apologizes for leading the party without telling him anything, but he just tells Edward to take her to her room. She assures him she's fine, but he notes that she shouldn't push herself and tells Isaac to write a report on the incident. But she can't believe he didn't even look at her, so she wonders if he hates her. The next day, Clarissa and her friends reveal that a student saw what they did at the party, so a teacher called them out. They apologize to Sophia and note that even though they were jealous seeing her with Louis, they shouldn't have tried to hurt her. She tells them she isn't that friendly with him and thinks she should be thanking them since they helped her stop an accident from happening, but they have no idea what she's talking about. Clarissa tells her she has a nice figure, so she needs to stop slouching, and they invite her and Renee to join them for tea. Clarissa notes that it's the perfect chance for her to suggest her favorite hairstyles and makeup to them, but Sophia wonders if her relationship with Louis will ever go back to normal. 3 months later, Sophia recalls her encounter with the bombers, and we learn that they belong to the anti-monarchist group called Daybreak. She wonders how they were able to infiltrate the school, thinking they had help from the inside, but she notes that they escaped after the incident, so everyone's still looking for answers. We learn that she hasn't talked to Louis, and she believes that he's avoiding her because he hates her for being reckless. We see Sophia and her friends on a snowy mountain where the knights have their field training, and their leader tells them to climb to the summit. We see that Louis is with them, but he appears to be ignoring Sophia, and she hears some of the knights complaining about how heavy their backpacks are. She sees that Edward is struggling, so she offers to help him, but he tells her he's okay. They reach a narrow path, but he suddenly collapses and almost falls down the mountain, but Sophia grabs him and tells him to wake up, but she realizes she's slipping, so she throws him back up. Isaac catches him, but Sophia falls instead, and Louis jumps down after her. After some time, Sophia wakes up, realizing she survived because of the gorilla god's blessing, but she notes that she needs to find shelter before it gets dark. She sees an abandoned cabin and decides to spend the night there. She thinks about starting a fire to keep herself warm, but she realizes that she dropped her tools, so she's afraid that she might freeze to death. She hears something outside, and she freaks out, wondering if it's a ghost. But she thinks it could be someone who needs help, so she decides to look outside, and sees a squirrel on the ground, realizing it has tools for making fire. She rests by the fireplace, and notes that the squirrel is still alive, thinking it looks like the one at school. She thinks it's too dangerous to go to sleep, but she notes that she's tired, so she decides to rest. The next day, Sophia wakes up, and she's glad that the fire's still going, but she realizes that Louis is beside her. So she becomes confused, wondering how he got there, and she thinks she must be dreaming. He also wakes up, and they both become flustered. He tells her he left his clothes and equipment outside, so she leaves to get them, but she notes that they're still wet, so he needs to wait for them to dry. She wonders what he's doing there, so he explains that he jumped down the cliff after she fell, and he was able to make it down unharmed, but he couldn't find her in the woods. He suddenly falls silent and thinks it's the perfect time to tell her about his secret, but he hopes she won't be disappointed in him. He suddenly disappears, and she's surprised to see he transformed into a squirrel. He reveals that he received the blessings of the squirrel god, which increases his mobility, but his blessing is so strong that it allows him to transform. He notes that it's difficult to control, so his behavior is affected, and he reveals that he transformed into a squirrel last night because it would be easier for him to find her in that form. But he ran out of stamina because of the cold, so he collapsed near the cabin and returned to his human form. She reminds him about her reckless actions during the bombing incident, thinking it's the reason why he hates her. So he notes that he gave her the wrong idea, and reveals that he was with her while she was trapped in the storehouse. She realizes that he was the squirrel she kept seeing at school, and she freaks out because he was with her when she talked about her feelings. She asks him if he heard everything, and he reveals that he did, but he explains that it wasn't on purpose, telling her he transformed into a squirrel to find her. He reveals that no one has ever confessed their feelings to him, and she can't believe it because she knows that he's extremely popular. But he tells her not to mock him, thinking nobody will like him because he only knows how to fight, so she realizes that he has no idea how popular he is. He notes that when he heard her talk about her feelings, he felt bad and tried to leave, but he had to stay because of the bombers. He mentions that he was afraid the bomb might kill her, so he tried to stop it from exploding, and he was impressed by how she saved everyone at the school. But after the incident, he kept thinking about how she said she liked him, so he couldn't look her in the eye. But he now realizes that he gave her the wrong idea, so he tells her he likes her, revealing he has always had a thing for her. He explains that he couldn't understand his feelings for her at first, but he realized how much he loves her when he saw her falling down the cliff. He thinks he has failed as a man because it took him so long to realize that he loves her, and he wonders if she still feels the same way. She notes that she was sad because she thought he hated her, but he suddenly hugs her, telling her he should have told her his feelings sooner, but he was afraid of being rejected. He prepares to kiss her, but Isaac suddenly bursts through the door, so she pushes Lewis away. She asks Isaac what he's doing there, so he reveals that he used his dog's blessing to find her, asking her if she's okay. So she tells him she's fine, but they realize she pushed Lewis through the wall, so she gets embarrassed and wishes she had a different blessing. At the school, Sophia thinks about how she's on a break from the night's training, so she can finally rest for a while. But Isaac suddenly appears, and she wonders why he's carrying a tree, so he explains that everyone at the dorm asked him to run errands. He invites her to join them for a Christmas party, and takes her to the dorm, telling her there are plenty of students who didn't go home for the holidays, so they decided to throw a party. She agrees to join them, so Edward tells her to help them decorate, and Lewis also arrives, so the girls go wild. But Sophia remembers her moment with him, and she's worried about how other people will react if they learn about it. She decides to leave, thinking she should keep a low profile, but Lewis follows her, and he has no idea why she's acting strange. They both start blushing, but she has no idea what to do next, and he tells her he's been busy with his research, and hugs her because he missed her. She holds herself back to make sure she doesn't send him flying again, and decides to enjoy the moment, but she quickly gets away from him when the other girls arrive. During the party, all the girls are focused on Lewis, and Sophia is amazed by how popular he is. Edward also arrives, and he gives her a hair accessory as a gift, thinking it will help her during her training since she ties up her hair. She wonders why he's giving her a gift, so he mentions that it's to thank her for what happened in the mountains, and he notes that he has other reasons as well. After that, Isaac tells Sophia to come with him, so she wonders if he needs her to carry something, but he gives her a scarf. He's glad she likes it, because he didn't know how he would react if she rejected it, but she assures him that she would never say something like that. He mentions that the first time he met her, he was surprised by how confident she was, but when he looked at her closely, he saw that her hands were shaking. He realized that she was trying to help him even though she was scared, and he's glad that he met her, because she gave him the courage to face his fears. He tries to ask her out, but his body starts shaking, and before he can say anything, the headmaster suddenly drops a bucket on his head. She starts to laugh, telling him she never thought she would receive Christmas presents from a friend, which breaks his heart. At night, Sophia is sad as she thinks about how she didn't get to talk to Lewis, but she's surprised when he comes to her room. She's worried about what people will think if they see him standing there, so she quickly grabs his arm and pushes him in, but she doesn't know what to do next. She starts to feel nervous, and he asks her if she's okay with him being in her room, but she assures him that everything's fine. She wonders why he came there, so he gives her a gift and tells her to open it. She's surprised to see that it's a necklace, and he notes that he was planning on buying a ring, but one of the seniors talked him out of it. She sees him staring at the necklace, so she puts it on, and he praises her for how beautiful it looks on her. He apologizes for suddenly coming to her room, but as he prepares to leave, she grabs onto him, telling him she wants to give him something as well. She gives him a piece of cake she saved from the party, because she knows that he didn't get to eat anything, and she thinks about how cute he looks when he's eating sweets. She feels bad since she didn't get him anything in return for the necklace, but he tells her they'll be even if she eats the cake with him, and he feeds it to her. She wonders if it tastes sweeter because the person she likes is feeding her, and he tells her how his seniors made fun of him when he told them he likes sweets. So he finds it hard to admit it in front of anyone, but she notes that people should be allowed to like whatever they want, and he shouldn't hold back on the things he loves. He hugs her and notes that he thought he wouldn't get to talk with her today, but she mentions that it can't be helped because he's popular with the girls. He wonders if she doesn't want him to talk to other girls because she didn't pay attention to him during the party, so she tells him that she doesn't want him to be with anyone else. He notes that she should have just told him, but she doesn't know how the other girls would react, and he asks her if they should announce their relationship to everyone. But she rejects the idea because she won't be able to go to class anymore, telling him to keep their relationship a secret. But he suddenly puts her on his lap, telling her he can't agree to her request because it would make it harder to protect her. He mentions how he saw Isaac and Edward talking with her, but she notes that they just gave her gifts, so she needs to buy something for them as well. He tells her he'll go with her to buy a hair accessory and a scarf, but she thinks that he just wants to buy those things for himself. She tells him he doesn't need to worry about anyone else because he's the only one she loves, and they end up sharing a kiss. But after that, he feels embarrassed since she's staring at him, and she tries to get away, but she suddenly trips, and as he tries to catch her, he ends up on top of her instead. He quickly gets away from her, and as he prepares to leave, he offers for her to come to his place. The next day, Ark is feeling hungover since he spent the last night drinking, and he doesn't want his day off to be wasted. A group of girls suddenly approaches him, and they ask him to spend time with them, but he sees Sophia running past them, so he decides to follow her. He sees her patrolling the town, and thinks she isn't acting like a gorilla, but he sees a group of people causing trouble at a shop. Sophia arrives to solve the situation, but they refuse to listen to her, so he thinks about helping her, but he's impressed as she sends them flying out of the shop. After that, he sees her staring at a sweets shop, so he interrupts her and asks her if she likes such things, but she explains that someone she knows likes sweets. He offers to go in with her, telling her it will be practice for when she comes there with the person she's talking about, but she refuses his offer. She tells him she can't allow herself to be with another man, so he mentions that she's taking the situation too seriously, and he tries to convince her to go in, but she still refuses. He wonders what she'll do if he orders her to accompany him, which makes her panic, but he notes that he's just joking. As she prepares to leave, he asks her what she would have said if he had made the same request as her boyfriend, but she doesn't answer his question. After that, as Isaac is walking through the town, Sophia comes rushing towards him and hugs him, which makes him blush. She apologizes since she didn't hold back her strength, but he tells her he'll always catch her no matter what, and they go to a shop, where Sophia tries on a dress. Isaac is amazed by how good she looks, so he buys it for her, and they spend the rest of the day together. He mentions how he was nervous, because it was his first time on a date, so he didn't know how to make sure it would be fun. But she tells him that anywhere is fun when she's with him, since he's her boyfriend, and she's about to kiss him. But we see that Isaac is actually in a sauna, and he's just remembering the dream he had last night. He asks Edward if something good happened to him, since he's making soft eyes, which makes him remember how a cat hopped onto his lap a while ago. Sophia appears, and she's jealous of Edward, because the cat has taken a liking to him. He notes that she can touch it, since it seems familiar with humans, but she's scared that she might kill it if she isn't careful. She tells him how she likes cats, and wonders why he was sitting there, so he explains that he was running away from the girls. After that, Isaac and Edward talk about how Sophia is on patrol, and Edward notes that even though her duty was in the morning, she'll probably be late, since she'll be helping people. They know that she's a good person, and Isaac wonders if there's someone she likes, but Edward notes that he has no idea. In the capital, Clarissa goes shopping with her friends, and buys a dress for Renee, which she thinks is too fancy for her. But Clarissa tells her she shouldn't think so negatively about herself, telling her she's irritated when people think like that. They wish they had invited Sophia as well, but they suddenly run into her while she's on patrol, and they're shocked to see that she's a junior knight. She mentions how she wishes for her school life to be as peaceful as possible, so she tells them to keep it a secret. But Clarissa notes that she should be proud of being a junior knight, because it isn't a job that anyone can do. Sophia thinks she isn't cut out for it, so Renee mentions how girls like them are always on edge, because they're too worried about what other people think of them. She notes how her previous behavior made her hurt Sophia, so she decided to change herself, but she realized that people treated her the same way. She advises Sophia to act like her real self, telling her she doesn't need to hide that she's a junior knight, and Clarissa notes that if she feels troubled, she can always talk to them since they're friends. Sophia asks Clarissa if Leon is her boyfriend, but she reveals that she doesn't know him, explaining that he approached her at the party entrance, and she didn't reject him since he's handsome. She tells Sophia to go shopping with them, and she decides to join them since she's done with patrolling the capital. The military arts training competition is about to begin, and Edward has no idea what it is. So Isaac explains that the different forces in the military will compete against each other to see how far they've come in their training. Edward wonders why Sophia is exempted, so she reveals that all the forces were trying to get her in their group, and they decided to exclude her to make sure there's no conflict. Isaac realizes she's acting as a first aid attendant, so he mentions that he'll do his best to get hurt. Clarissa and the others also arrive, and Sophia mentions that she told them about the training, so they decided to come to the island to support her. Edward is selected for the ground forces, while Isaac is assigned to the maritime force, and Lewis joins the musketeers. The first event is an obstacle course, and Isaac is confident that he'll win thanks to his blessing, thinking Sophia will be impressed if he gets first place. But he's surprised when he comes across a mountain, and the ground force commander named Victor uses the chance to take the lead as he quickly climbs up thanks to his wolf blessing. He gets first place, but he praises Isaac and invites him to join his squad after he becomes a real knight. The next competition is swimming, and Lewis decides to participate in it, but Sophia starts blushing as he takes off his shirt. Isaac thinks the maritime forces have a clear advantage in the competition, but Edward mentions that their commander Qual won't be participating. A member of the maritime forces named Gilbert approaches Lewis and mentions how Lewis is praised for being the youngest ever to become a knight, but he plans to show Lewis how the title means nothing in the sea. As the competition begins, Gilbert quickly gets ahead of everyone since he has the orca's blessing, and he easily gets first place, while Lewis gets second. Sophia offers a towel to Gilbert as he gets out of the water, but he starts losing his mind since he can't believe there's a girl there, and seeing him stare at her makes her scared, so she runs away. She goes to check on Lewis, but Gilbert joins them and starts boasting about his victory. He thinks Lewis doesn't deserve to be called a knight because he ran out of breath in such an easy competition, but Qual tells Gilbert to stop being rude. The next event is close-quarter combat, where they decide to use clay bullets instead of real ones. As the match begins, Ark quickly flies into the air and starts taking out the other members. Edward realizes he's the only one left, but he knows he can't defeat Ark head-on, so he decides to use something that Victor gave him. Ark sees a girl in the match area, so he goes to help her, but it turns out to be Edward, who shoots Ark and wins the match. The next competition is a scavenger hunt, but as everyone reads their instructions, they all start rushing towards Sophia, who has no idea what's happening. She tries to run away, but Lewis grabs her hand and tells her to come with him. They cross the finish line, and the other participants wonder if he even got the thing written in the instructions, but Ernest examines his note and gives him the win. Sophia wonders what he was told to get, but seeing him struggle to answer, she wonders if his goal was to get a violent person. Ernest suddenly tells everyone that a rockslide happened at the shore, and a hotel was partially destroyed, so he orders all the knights to head to the scene. Victor thinks there's a chance that even more rockslides could occur, so he takes his team to make sure there are no casualties, while Ark and his group decide to get rescue supplies. Gilbert and his team are about to jump into the ocean to rescue the civilians, but a man stops them and tells them the water is filled with poisonous fish. Qual jumps into the water, telling Gilbert to go in after 1 minute, and he uses his blessing to make the fish go to sleep. They manage to save the victims, but Sophia sees that Clarissa is still stranded in the ocean, so she instantly comes to her rescue. She uses the debris to jump towards her and manages to grab the pole Clarissa is holding, but she's about to fall into the water. Gilbert and Lewis come to her rescue, and Gilbert is impressed that Lewis was able to swim almost as fast as him, so he acknowledges his abilities. After that, Ernest praises everyone for their hard work, and they start enjoying the party. Victor approaches Sophia, telling her to join his squad after becoming a full-fledged knight, but Ark and Qual arrive, and they also want her to join them. At night, Sophia runs into Lewis, and she once again asks him what was written in the instructions during the scavenger hunt. so he reveals that he was told to get the person he wants to protect. But before she can say anything, Isaac and Edward arrive, and they all enjoy the fireworks together. In the royal capital, Sophia meets with Louis and apologizes for being late, but he doesn't mind it. He notices that she's still in her uniform, so she mentions that she didn't have time to go back to the dorm because their training went on longer than usual. Louis notes that Victor doesn't know how to hold back when he gets fired up, and he thinks they should buy new clothes for Sophia because she'll attract attention if she walks around in her uniform. He also knows that if she doesn't change clothes, it will be hard for them to walk together holding hands, but he instantly apologizes for saying something weird. She mentions that she wants to do it since they didn't get to spend time together during the training camp, and he's happy that she feels the same way. They go to a clothing store, and as Sophia tries on different dresses, Louis is amazed by how beautiful she looks. She asks for his opinion on one of the dresses, and he mentions that she looks cute in it, so he buys it for her. They go to a sweets shop, and as they're enjoying ice cream, Sophia asks him about how he lives alone. So he reveals that his relatives used to stay in the house, and they allow him to stay there since he takes care of it. He invites her over to his place, which makes her start panicking since she isn't prepared to take such a big step. He mentions that they can have dinner there if she likes, which makes her embarrassed because she was thinking of something else. Meanwhile, a knight reports to Ernest, revealing that the Duke was shot in the noble quarters, but he was able to survive. They know that the intruders were wearing a red cloak, which means they belong to the anti-monarchist group called Daybreak, and Victor thinks they placed explosives like they did before. He asks Ernest if he's told the junior knights about the situation, but he notes that he doesn't want to cause panic, so they need to keep it a secret until they know more. In the capital, Sophia and Louis go to a place called Marquet to buy ingredients for dinner, and she's excited since she's heard a lot about the place. She notes that the tomatoes look delicious, so they decide to have a tomato dish for dinner, and as they walk around, they hear people badmouthing nobles. They talk about how it's unfair that a person's life is defined by the blessings they get, and Louis knows it's a problem that affects everyone, so he wants to do something about it in the future. As they reach Louis's house, Sophia is surprised by how nice it is, because he said it's just a small rented place. But he suddenly realizes he's out of spices, so he tells Sophia to wait inside the house while he goes to buy them. She thinks she should go with him, but he tells her it's time for the evening rush, so he'll be faster on his own. He gives her the key to his house before he leaves, and tells her she can keep it for herself. She enters the house, and as Louis returns, he apologizes for being late because the rush was worse than he expected. He sees that she has already started preparing dinner, and she apologizes for using his things without asking, but he doesn't mind it. She asks him to taste the dish, but she starts panicking when she realizes she just stuck her hand out without thinking, but he eats the food and finds it delicious. After dinner, Louis sees that she's wearing the necklace he gave her, and she notes that she always wears it, but she places it somewhere safe when she's on a mission. She explains that she doesn't want to lose it, because it's the first thing he gave her, and he hugs her, telling her he didn't know she thought so strongly about it. He was worried about how she feels about him giving her gifts, but she hugs him back, telling him she loves him, so he doesn't need to worry about such things. They kiss each other, but he sees that she's feeling nervous and tells her she should leave since it's getting late. As he walks her back to the dorm, he apologizes for what he did earlier because he tried to rush things and didn't consider her feelings. She grabs his hands and tells him she likes him, but she was nervous since she hadn't done anything like it before, so she didn't know what to do. He's glad to hear it and tells her not to worry because they will go at their own pace. As she heads back to her room, she's suddenly attacked by two people, but she sends them flying into a wall. She can't believe how brave she's become and knows she can't leave them lying around, so she tries to call the Royal Knights. But a pink mist starts to surround her, and it causes her to lose strength. As she's about to fall to the ground, Leon catches her, and he gives her a pill, and a huge explosion occurs in front of the museum. Sophia wakes up in a bed, but she has no idea where she is, and she only remembers that Louis dropped her off at the school. She's surprised to see that she isn't wearing the same clothes as before, but she's relieved that she still has her necklace. Leon arrives, and even though she remembers him, he still introduces himself and apologizes for the way he acted when he met her at the party. He tells her she breathed in a poisonous gas after she was attacked, and he found her unconscious, so he decided to take her there. He explains that he washed her clothes because they were dirty, offering her tea while they wait for her clothes to dry, and she accepts his offer since she doesn't have a choice. She's surprised to see the color of the tea, so he mentions that it's from the Far East, which makes her remember when Isaac told her about shinobis, but she doesn't know anything about them. He tells her to try the tea, but as she drinks it, she finds it bitter, which makes him laugh, and he notes that she needs to sip it slowly. She thinks about how she has no idea what time it is, and mentions that the room is bright, so he reveals that he made it in such a way that it's dazzling at all times. He shows her a pendant and asks her if she likes it, so she tells him it's pretty. He tells her how he used to live in the corner of the capital with other kids, and he doesn't think Sophia and her friends have even heard of that place. We go back to when Leon was a kid, and another boy named Cecil comes running towards him since he forgot something. So Leon notes that he was hurrying to get bread and water since they didn't have any last week. Two kids named Lloyd and Keith come out from their basement and mention that they want to play hide and seek. But Cecil reminds them how they aren't allowed to play there since it's where they store their food, so they mention that it's empty. After that, Leon and the other kids wait for a noble to give them food, but he just throws it in the air, and it's up to the kids to take as much as they can. He returns after getting the food, and his friends are happy because he was able to get so much. At night, as Leon is reading a book, Cecil joins him, and he's amazed by Leon because he doesn't know how to read. Leon notes that the book is in terrible condition, but Cecil notes that it means he can take his time thinking about all sorts of things while reading it, which surprises Leon by how positive Cecil is. After a while, a noble offers to adopt Leon and explains how even though it seems like nothing's wrong with their kingdom, the blessings have created a wealth gap and inequality in unseen places. So he needs Leon's help since he knows the area, and he provides a few boxes of food for everyone, promising to feed them every day if Leon comes with him. He even offers to educate all of them, and after he leaves, Leon asks Cecil what he thinks about the situation. He tells Leon it's a good deal because everyone was so happy after getting food, and Leon will also get to read as much as he likes. He knows he'll be lonely without Leon, but he thinks it's a great idea since it will make everyone else happy. Leon goes to live with the noble, and he gets the leopard god's blessing, which the noble finds amazing, thinking their family's future has been secured. After that, as Leon is reading a book, the noble checks up on him, telling him to use his blessing to help their family. He sees that Leon still has the pendant from when he was living in the slums, so the noble tells him to get rid of it, because he has no ties to that place anymore. Leon thinks about how he hasn't been able to visit his friends, since he's been busy adjusting to his new life, but the noble forbids him from going back. He uses his blessing to sneak off to the slums, but he's shocked to see that there's no one there, and after searching for a while, he finally manages to find Lloyd and Keith. They reveal that the noble burned everything, and he asks them what happened to Cecil, but they continue to cry, and he realizes that Cecil didn't make it. We return to the present, as Leon tells Sophia that the Duke who became his father was the one who took everything from him. He said it's natural to dispose of trash, so Leon decided to do the same, by ending the noble's life. She asks him who he really is, so he reveals he's the leader of Daybreak, and he notes that their world is corrupt, because their lives are determined by their blessing. He thinks everyone should have the right to live where the sun shines on them, and he knows that Sophia has the gorilla god's blessing, which makes her wonder how he found out. He quickly gets behind her, and mentions that he has the leopard god's blessing, which is the natural predator of a gorilla. She gets away from him, and he notes that they have two of the mightiest combat class blessings, and since only one person can carry such a blessing at a time, it means they're the luckiest people in the world. He rushes towards her and breaks the necklace Louis gave her, before putting his pendant around her neck. He plans to take over the royal capital, but she's angry that he broke the necklace, so she punches him with all her might, and gets away from him. Meanwhile, Ernest tells Louis that the explosion didn't injure anyone, and he reveals that they received intel about Daybreak's next target, so Louis assures him that everyone will be on guard. Louis heads to the school, where he tries to sneak in, because the entrance has been blocked by Daybreak members. But they spot him, so they try to take him out, but he blocks their attacks, and easily defeats them. Meanwhile, Qual decides to go to the school as well, but he realizes that a few Daybreak members are spying on him, so he electrocutes them using his blessing. Louis frees the headmaster, and asks him if he knows how the other teachers and students are doing, but he mentions that he has no idea, so Louis decides to look around the campus. Sophia also arrives, but she suddenly sees a giant rock coming towards her, so she destroys it with her fist. She goes to her classroom, where she finds her classmates tied up, so she immediately frees them. Renee blocks the entrance with her spider webs, while Sophia decides to get around the campus using the attic. Clarissa and Renee tell her to take them with her, so she pulls them up, and Clarissa reveals that she was blessed by the mole god, so she's good at moving in the dark. Sophia notes that it's dangerous for them to come with her, but they tell her to rely on them, and Clarissa finds a spot where something strange is happening. So Sophia mentions that she'll go alone to check it out, but before she leaves, Renee gives her a rope made from her webs. We see Isaac and Edward being chased by Daybreak members, but Sophia breaks through the attic, and she crushes the man. They notice Victor fighting against the enemy, while Sophia asks Isaac and Edward about Lewis, so Isaac mentions that he saw him going towards the cathedral. They decide to meet up with him, but the fastest route is through the roof, which scares Isaac since he's afraid of heights. As they move forward, the enemy starts shooting them, and one of them throws a huge rock, but Sophia grabs it and throws it back at them. More Daybreak members attack them from behind, and Edward tells them to keep moving forward, but as he prepares to fight, the roof suddenly collapses, and he falls down. One of the enemies grabs a bell and throws it towards Sophia, who tries to catch it, but she ends up falling as well. After the dust clears, she sees that Leon defeated Lewis, and he mentions that Lewis messed with his things, so he deserves to be punished. Sophia is surrounded by Lloyd and Keith, but before they can attack her, Isaac suddenly joins her, and he kicks Lloyd away. Sophia punches Keith in the stomach, but Leon instantly gets close to Isaac and sends him flying through a wall. He's surprised by how weak Isaac is, and Leon gets behind Sophia, telling her to become his girlfriend, because they're destined to be together. He explains that they can take over the world with their powers, telling her they'll be unstoppable if they work together, but she tells him she isn't interested. He wonders if she finds it strange that the moment she received her blessing, she was forced to join the Royal Knights, telling her their lives are being decided by their blessings. He explains that he hates it, so he decided to live freely by rebelling against the noble who adopted him. Sophia tries to kick him, but he blocks it and flicks her away. She's about to fall to the ground, but he catches her and mentions how she isn't suitable for battle since she's too kind. He knows that she's being forced to be on the front lines by the Royal Knights, but he assures her that he wouldn't make her fight because he loves her. He kisses her, but she bites his lips, which surprises him that she still has the energy to fight back. She tells him that at first, she didn't want her blessing, but she realized that it saved her life countless times, and she wants to use it to protect the ones she loves. Leon realizes that he can't change her mind, so he rushes towards her and sends her flying into a wall. He starts choking her, telling her he'll eliminate her and wait for another person to be born with the gorilla god's blessing. He knows that the chances of it happening are low, so he doesn't want to kill her, but he hates getting rejected by her, so he has decided to end her life. She starts to pass out, but Lewis comes to her rescue, which surprises Leon that he can still move. He kicks Lewis in the stomach, telling him they could have avoided everything if he just handed her over, but he notes that he would never do that, because he's her knight. He attacks Leon and manages to scratch his body, which makes him angry, so he grabs Lewis and throws him away. He turns his attention to Sophia, but Edward arrives with Ark, who tells Leon to surrender, because they've surrounded the area. He orders his men to shoot him, but he blocks the bullets with his bare hands. Sophia sees that Lewis has turned into a squirrel, and realizes he's planning something, so she distracts Leon, telling him she'll defeat him. They start to clash with each other, but he punches her in the stomach, and notes that a girl like her shouldn't be covered in wounds, so he promises to stop if she agrees to join him. But she mentions that she'll protect everyone, and as she punches him away, Lewis defeats him by dropping the chandelier on his head. After that, Sophia wakes up in the hospital, where she's surrounded by Isaac and Edward. She asks Edward if he's okay, since he fell from the roof, so he reveals that he was able to land perfectly fine, because he's blessed by the cat god. After a while, Sophia congratulates Lewis on graduating from the school and passing the knighthood certification exam. He mentions that he's gotten closer to his goal of becoming a grandmaster, but he knows that he needs to work harder to keep up with her. He reveals that every time a person is chosen by the gorilla god, they end up becoming a grandmaster, so he thinks she's destined for greatness, and he wants to stay by her side to watch over her. He asks her if she'll come with him, and she takes his hand, telling him she wants to use her power to protect people. He hugs her and thanks her for accepting him, but she thinks that she should be the one thanking him, since he's always by her side. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.